Israel's covert war against Iran's nuclear ambitions has taken many forms over the years, but perhaps none as daring and chilling as Operation Narnia, a shadow operation that aimed at crippling Iran's nuclear program by killing the men behind it in one go. Our next report takes a deep dive into one of Mossad's most secretive and complex missions.
Israel never confirms and Iran never forgets. Behind enemy lines, a silent war is unfolding. On June 13th, a high-stakes clandestine mission targeting Iran's top nuclear scientist bore the signature of Israeli intelligence. Operation Narnia, the code name for one of Mossad's boldest campaigns. In the making for a long time, Operation Narnia wiped out the top 10 Iranian nuclear scientists, out of which 9 were killed simultaneously. The deliberate orchestrated hits ensured these scientists, who held knowledge about the nuclear program, have no chance to escape. Israel reportedly used a secret weapon to kill Iran's nuclear scientists sleeping at their homes, who had no knowledge that Israel could sneak into their bedrooms. Israel monitored them for years using dozens of researchers. The operation intensified over the past 12 months. Israel reportedly created a hit list of scientists. Israel categorized the nuclear scientists into 4 levels, ranking them from highest to lowest priority. The scientists killed have been identified as Mansour Asghari, expert in physics; Saeed Barot, an expert in materials engineering; Mohammad Mahdi Tehranchi, an expert in physics; Feridun Abbasi, considered central to Iran's nuclear development; Akbar Mutalebi Zadeh, an expert in chemical engineering; Ali Bakhoui Katirimi, an expert in mechanics; Amir Hassan Fakhani, expert in physics; Ahmad Reza Daryani, an expert in nuclear engineering; Abd al-Hamid Minoucher, expert in reactor physics, are among those killed. Israel has used unconventional means of killing Iranian nuclear scientists before. In November 2020, Iran claimed Israel killed a top nuclear scientist, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, using a machine gun in either a remote-controlled or entirely automated mount on a pickup truck, with no actual human assassins present. It remains unclear whether the scientists were killed by a weapon delivered from the air or launched from the ground, possibly in close proximity to its target. Mossad operatives used remotely operated Rafael Spike precision-guided missile system during the initial phase of Rising Lion to destroy air defenses around Tehran. These missiles are man-in-the-loop guided and allow operators to fly the missile to a highly specific point before detonation. They can even loiter for short periods of time. Israel has also pioneered the use of highly maneuverable suicide drones that are totally optimized for missions in dense urban areas, including inside buildings. Such a weapon is well suited for entering the residence of a high-value target. The precision attack is a reminder of Israel's audacious operation, using thousands of exploding pagers and radios. to target Hezbollah members last year. The blasts killed 30 people and wounded more than 3,000. Given Israel's penchant for secrecy, especially during this conflict, it may be some time before the world knows what killed the nuclear scientists. Bureau Report, WION The World is One.
Let's now talk about this. Retired Colonel Rich Outzen is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and the Jamestown Foundation. Colonel Outzen, good to see you. I want your thoughts on Iranian foreign minister's outreach diplomacy program in Europe, Turkey, and Russia.
Excellent. Good to be with you, Eric. I think that the options for Tehran are few at this point. It can absorb additional punishment. Ultimately, these blows against the nuclear program, but also increasingly infrastructure and leadership targets, is going to put a lot of pressure on the Iranian economy, on the public morale. I think it's the rational thing for them to reach out and to negotiate. In fact, I think this is part of President Trump's plan, and I do think that President Trump has been in close coordination with the Israelis on this. The goal is to some extent to physically destroy the Iranian nuclear program, but I think even more so to bring the Iranians to the table. There was, as you know, a 60-day negotiation window while President Trump was trying to get a peaceful deal that would lead to the end of nuclear weapons research and enrichment to nuclear weapons levels by Tehran, and they chose not to do that the next day that this war started. So I'm very glad to see the Iranians going to Europe and starting to try to talk to this. I don't think yet they understand that that's not a way to avoid the ultimate concession that they have to give, but it's a step in the right direction.
Colonel Outzen, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has told Iran's foreign minister resuming Iranian-US talks on Tehran's nuclear program is the only way to achieve a solution to the current fighting. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's an interesting position. It is helpful, and I think that those voices who tell Tehran resist and hold out are not doing the Iranian people any favors. Now, President Erdogan, of course, has a good working relationship with President Trump. In Washington, Erdogan's comments have not always been received well with regards to this current war, because, of course, he has some particularly sharp criticism for Israel, and in Washington, we're very close to the Israeli view of the Iranian nuclear program. But at the end of the day, Ankara doesn't want this neighbor to have nuclear weapons either. It'd be a blackmail situation for them as well. So, while I think on style points, Erdogan's not getting high marks in Washington, I think at the same time it is a constructive step for him to call on Tehran to negotiate.
Colonel Outzen, the U.S. President Trump alternated between militaristic threats and also private concerns about dragging the United States into a prolonged war. Does Trump's 2-week delay on Iran's strike decision leave Israel in limbo?
Well, it's an interesting question, right? Because I think, in a sense, President Trump has managed to put both the Iranians and the Israelis on edge with this 2-week waiting. Now, if you look at coercive diplomacy theory, the idea that you put some uncertainty into the mind of your target, and Iran is the target here, is undeniable. So there's a threat, there's a demand, there's an escalatory period, and then you give them an off-ramp. But the uncertainty during that waiting period actually sometimes moves the target towards concession. That's all good. What's less usual is to also have your friend, in this case Israel, a little uncertain. There are those who think that Benjamin Netanyahu put President Trump in a difficult situation by launching this war without Trump's explicit backing. So it may be that he wants them to sit and wait a little while, putting a little pressure on Netanyahu to compromise as well. We'll see, depending on how the negotiations come out once the U.S. Gets fully involved in negotiations, and that is if Iran chooses to recommit to negotiations.
All right. Retired Colonel Rich Outzen, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
You too, Eric.